Hello and welcome back to another LeetCode problem. Today we're going to be doing the problem of the day for June 19th, and it's find the highest altitude. And so the problem reads like this. There's a biker going on a road trip. The road trip consists of n+1 points at different altitudes. The biker starts its trip at point 0 with altitude 0. You're given an array gain of length n, where gain I is the net gain between points I and I+1, between 0, I, and n, and return the highest altitude. So they're showing you for this example here, we have this. And so these items in the array are actually the gains. And so our actual altitude, we're going to start at 0. And then these are all the gains from one point to the next. So we have a -5, so we would go to point -5. Then we go up 1, so -4. We go up 5, that's 1. Go up 0, 1, and then we have a -7, so we would go to -6. Okay, and then they're saying what's the highest altitude? Well, the highest altitude is just the biggest number in this array, which is 1 here. And so let's take a look at the other example. So we have -4, -3, -2, 1, 4, 3, 2. Okay. And so once again, if we draw out our array of where we actually are at, right, because this is the differences. So we start at 0, so we go down 4, so we're at -4. And we go down 3 more, we're at -7. Go down 2 more, we're at -9. Go down 1 more, we're at -10. Go up 4, -6. Go up 3, -3. Go up 2, -1. And so here, our highest altitude is actually our starting altitude. So they are saying, I wasn't sure about this one, they are saying include the starting altitude as one of your possible results. And so because every altitude after we start is negative, we would take the 0. So hopefully that kind of shows you what we're going to do for this problem. We are going to start at 0, and then we are just going to add numbers 1 by 1 in this changes, and then all we have to do, so we don't actually need to keep track of this array, right? So let me show you what that's going to look like if we don't actually keep track, because we don't want to store the entire array, because that's just extra space that we don't need. So here's what we're going to do. So let's say we have this again. So this is the altitude changes. We are simply just going to have a number that's going to start at 0, right? So we can just call that like A. It's going to start at 0. And for every single, we're going to traverse this array, and then for every single number, we're just going to change the altitude. And then we have some other thing like result, and that's just going to be the, equals max of R and A. And so we are going to keep changing these A values, and then we're just going to keep track of what was the biggest A value we've had, and then that's going to be our result. So for example, let's just say we do this again. So we start at altitude 0, then we go down 5. So this altitude would be -5. And then we go up 1. So this altitude will be -4. We go up 5. Altitude will be at 1. Go up 0. Altitude will be 1 again. And then we subtract 7. So altitude will be -6. So we went here, and then subtract these. Okay. And so, like I said, while we're calculating this altitude, we're just going to have some other number store, keep the current max, and then we're just going to return the max that the altitude ever was. But we don't actually need this whole array. We can just calculate the altitude and just compare the altitude to our max altitude that we have. We're going to initialize max altitude to 0. Because, like in this example, you want to start at 0. You don't want to start at -infinity, because 0 will be the starting altitude all the time. So we're going to initialize the R to 0, and we're going to initialize our altitude to 0. Go down this array, just figure out the altitude values and maximize it here, and then just return this R. So it's pretty straightforward, not too much to code. So we're just going to have a result equals 0, altitude, we'll just say A equals 0. And then for, let's just say, whatever, right? Gain, or not gain, I guess. Say a number in gain. Then we are going to say A plus E equals number. So we are going to add the number to our current altitude, and then we just simply maximize the result, right? So not the same as I did before. And then here we can just return the result. And that should be it. That's all the code we need. Yep. Okay. So hopefully that was pretty straightforward. Now let's think of the time and space here. Definitely a little break from hard problems. I think the last 3 problem of the days were hard problems. This one's definitely quite straightforward, pretty fast. So, okay, so the time here. So we are going through this. We have to go through this entire gains array. I don't think there's anything we can do about that because these values can be whatever. I don't think there's a shortcut. We actually have to manually calculate them. And so that's going to be big O of n. But also, like I said, for these easy problems, they give you such small constraints that like almost anything will work. Like it's only 100 digits, but big O of n should be fine. And for the space, we avoided using the array for our altitudes. We were just using a variable. And so that's big O of 1. We're just using one variable for altitude, one variable for res. That's big O of 1. And so lastly, yeah, if you did like this problem, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps grow it a lot. And thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.